Hey, come in, sit down. Seriously, lock the door behind you and leave your phone face down. We need to talk about the kind of things that make your skin crawl, not because they're monsters under the bed, but because they actually happened. My name is Violet, and if you're like me, you've realized that the world isn't just strange. It's calculated. It's got this jagged edge that waits for you to trip. I like to look into the shadows that people usually try to ignore. You know that feeling when you're walking up the stairs in the dark and you suddenly feel like something is right behind you? That's where I live. Tonight I've got 3 stories for you. They're the kind of tales that stick to your ribs like cold grease. We're talking about the thin line between a miracle and a nightmare, about premonitions that scream in the night, and about the lengths a man will go to when he feels the world has turned its back on him. So, let's get into it. And maybe keep the lights on for this one. Our first story takes us back, way back. It's 1785. Imagine the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh. Now back then, this was the Harvard of hospitals. It was massive, stone cold, and smelled like a cocktail of vinegar, unwashed bodies, and copper. Deep inside this labyrinth of stone, there's a room. It's small. It's sterile in the way that only 18th century clean could be, which is to say, it wasn't clean at all. No posters on the walls, no monitors beeping. Just a single window letting in the gray, depressing Scottish light and a metal bed frame that looked more like a torture rack than a place of healing. On that bed, a woman is screaming, and I don't mean shouting, I mean the kind of primal, soul-ripping shriek that makes the nurses in the hallway stop in their tracks. She's in labor. She's been in labor for hours, and her body is failing her. You have to understand, giving birth in 1785 was basically a coin flip with death. There were no epidurals, no sanitized operating rooms. If you were lucky, they'd give you a shot of whiskey or some opium that made your head spin, but did nothing for the feeling of being torn in half. Back then, if things went south, you didn't just get a C-section. A C-section in the 1700s was a death sentence for the mother. It was a save the baby, bury the mom kind of deal. The nurses are sweating. The woman is gripping the bed rails so hard her knuckles are white as bone. She knows. She can see it in their eyes. She's dying. The baby is stuck. Specifically, the baby's head is too large for her pelvic bone to let it pass. It's a biological stalemate, and nature doesn't do ties. Just as the room is reaching a fever pitch of panic, the door swings open. In walks Dr. John Aitken. Now, Aitken was a big deal. He was a pioneer, a man who looked at the high death rates of mothers and said, "Not on my watch." He was a man of science, but science in the 1780s looked a lot like a horror movie. He looks at the woman, this poor, terrified soul covered in sweat and blood, and he says, "It's okay, I have something new, a piece of technology that will save you both. You won't have to die today." She trusts him. What choice does she have? She's drowning in pain. He leaves for a moment and returns carrying a device. When she sees it, her heart stops. It's not a scalpel. It's not a pair of forceps. It's a mechanical contraption with a hand crank and a long, serrated, rotating chain of teeth. She tries to pull away. Even in her weakened state, her survival instinct kicks in. This looks barbaric. It looks like something you'd use to butcher a cow, not help a woman. But the staff, they don't let her move. They pin her shoulders down, they strap her legs, they tell her it's for her own good. Aitken moves in. He begins to operate. He's performing a symphysiotomy. Basically, he's going to cut through the cartilage of her pubic symphysis to widen the birth canal. But instead of a slow, agonizing knife cut, he uses his new invention. The sound of the metal teeth whirring fills the small room. The woman experiences a level of pain that the human brain isn't even designed to process. It's an out-of-body experience. She's hovering above herself, watching this man use a mechanical saw on her living body. And then, a cry. A baby's cry. It worked. The baby was out. The mother, miraculously, survived. Aitken had done it. His invention was a success. It was faster, cleaner, and it saved lives. For over a century, this tool became the gold standard for difficult births. It stayed in hospitals until the early 1900s, when C-sections finally became safe enough to replace it. But here's the kicker, the twist that makes your blood run cold. Once the medical world moved on, this tool didn't just disappear. A group of lumberjacks saw it and realized that this device, designed to cut through human bone and pelvic cartilage, was actually incredibly efficient at something else. Dr. John Aitken didn't just invent a medical tool, he invented the corner chainsaw. Think about that next time you watch a slasher movie. That roar of the engine, that was originally designed to be heard in a delivery room. Sleep tight. Okay, let's move forward in time. It's 1904. We're in Chicago. Now, if you've ever been to Chicago in the summer, you know it's a different kind of beast. The heat doesn't just sit on you, it presses into you. It's thick, humid, and smells like the lake and the stockyards. A young woman named Anna Gray is staying at a bed and breakfast. It's a typical second-story room. Creaky floorboards, floral wallpaper that's peeling at the corners, and that heavy, stagnant air. Anna can't sleep. Maybe it was the minced pie she had for dinner, or maybe it was just that feeling you get when a place feels crowded, even when you're alone. She's tossing and turning. Her stomach is doing somersaults. Finally, she's had enough. She gets up, walks over to the window, and shoves it open. A breeze hits her face, and for a second, she feels human again. She watches the empty street below for a minute, then crawls back into bed, leaving the window wide open. A few hours pass. Suddenly, Anna's eyes snap open. You know that feeling? When you wake up and you're 100% alert, like your brain just hit the emergency button? She's lying there, staring at the ceiling, heart hammering against her ribs. She's trying to figure out what woke her up. Was it a carriage outside? A floorboard creaking? She scans the room. Left, right. Everything looks normal. Then she looks at the window. There is a man sitting on the windowsill. He's not moving. He's just perched there, like a gargoyle. He's staring directly at her. His eyes are wide, unflinching, and dead. No emotion, no, "I'm sorry I broke in." Just a cold, predatory gaze. Now, most people would scream. They'd freeze. But Anna had that fight in her. Before she could even think, she lunged out of bed, charging at this intruder. She was going to tackle him, scream for help, something. But as she gets inches away, the man doesn't fight back. He doesn't move a muscle. He just leans back. He lets himself fall backward out of the second-story window. Anna hits the windowsill, breathless, looking down. She expects to see a body. She expects to see a man sprawled out on the pavement with a broken neck. But the street is empty. There's no one. No sound of footsteps running away. No groans of pain. Just the yellow glow of the street lamps. Then she notices something. Parked directly under a lamp is a long black car. A hearse. She stares at it, her skin prickling. She sees a movement in the driver's seat. Someone is sitting there. They lean down, then look up at her. It's him, the man from the window. He's in the hearse. And then he does something that would haunt her for the rest of her life. He reaches his hand out the window and starts beckoning her. "Come down," he seems to say with his fingers. "Come get in the car." Anna slams the window shut. She locks it. She hides under the covers, shaking until the sun comes up. When morning hits, she tries to rationalize it. It was a dream, she tells herself. A vivid, terrible nightmare brought on by bad pie and heat. She leaves the B&B and decides to treat herself. There's a brand new, massive department store that just opened in the city. 4 floors of luxury. She spends the afternoon shopping, losing herself in the bustle of the crowds. By the time she reaches the 4th floor, she's almost forgotten about the man in the hearse. She finishes her shopping and walks toward the elevator. Back then, elevators weren't automatic. They were cars operated by a person who manually leveled the floor. She hits the button. Ding. The doors open. The elevator is packed. People are shoulder to shoulder. Anna looks at the crowd and shakes her head. "I'll catch the next one," she says politely. But the elevator operator, a man in a uniform, doesn't close the doors. He stares at her. His voice is gruff, demanding. "One more," he shouts. "Get in, you're holding us up." Anna looks up at him to apologize, and her blood turns to ice. It's him, the same face, the same dead eyes, the man from the windowsill, the man from the hearse. "One more," he repeats, his eyes boring into hers. Anna gasps. She backs away, shaking her head, nearly tripping over her own shopping bags. "No," she whispers. "No." The operator scoffs, pulls the lever, and the doors clank shut. The elevator begins its descent. Anna stands there, heart racing, trying to tell herself she's crazy. It's a coincidence. Everyone has a doppelganger. And then, a sound. A horrific, metallic crunch, followed by the sound of snapping cables and the screams, the blood-curdling screams of people who know they're about to die. The elevator car malfunctioned. It plummeted 4 stories straight into the basement. 2 people were killed instantly. Others were mangled. Anna Gray stood at the top of that shaft, looking down into the darkness. She was supposed to be in that car. If she hadn't seen that face the night before, if she hadn't been warned, she would have been one more. To this day, we don't know if that operator was a ghost, a demon, or just a very grim coincidence. But Anna knew. Death had come for her twice in 24 hours, and the second time, she didn't let him pick her up. Now, for our final story. This one hits a little closer to home. It's 2008. We're in Bishopstoke, a quiet little village in southern England. Meet David File. David is 50 years old, and he's a man who likes his routine. He's lived in the same apartment complex for 8 years. When he first moved in, the place was great. It was a community. Kids playing in the courtyards, neighbors chatting over the fences. But over the years, the complex started to rot. Not just the buildings, but the soul of the place. A company called Atlantic Housing bought it and decided it was more profitable to tear it down and build something new than to fix it. One by one, the neighbors left. They took the buyouts. They moved to newer, shinier places. But not David. David refused. By July 2008, the complex looked like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Graffiti on the walls, weeds waist-high, boarded-up windows everywhere. Out of 72 apartments, 71 were empty. David was the last man standing, the ghost of Bishopstoke. On the morning of July 5th, David walks up to his front door and sees a white slip of paper taped to it. He doesn't even need to read it to know what it is. An eviction notice. The courts had finally ruled against him. He had to be out. David goes inside. His apartment is cramped. It's full of his life, his memories. In the middle of his living room sits a full-sized billiard table. It's his prized possession. He looks at it, then at the eviction notice, and something inside him just snaps. He's not leaving. But he's not going to fight them with lawyers anymore. He's going to make a statement, something they can't ignore, something that will be seared into their brains forever. David spends the afternoon in his storage closet. He pulls out rope, an electric timer, and a power tool. He spends hours rigging a device. He's meticulous. He's calm. He works with the precision of a man who has finally found his purpose. He ties the power tool to one of the heavy legs of the billiard table. He sets the timer. He checks the tension of the ropes. A few hours later, David's parents are worried. They've been calling him all day and he hasn't picked up. Given the eviction, they're terrified he's done something rash. They drive to the complex. It's eerily quiet, just the sound of the wind whistling through the empty buildings. They get to David's door and knock. No answer. They pound on the door. "David, open up!" Nothing. But then they hear it. A sound coming from inside. A low mechanical whirring, a buzzing that sounds like a giant insect trapped in the walls. They call the police. 2 officers arrive and they hear the sound too. It's getting louder. It's a rhythmic, angry sound. The officers decide they can't wait. One of them steps back and kicks the door in. The door flies open and the sound becomes a roar. It's deafening. The police and David's parents rush in and they stop dead. Their breath catches in their throats. David's mother screams, a sound that will haunt those officers until the day they retire. David's trap had worked perfectly. He had taken a chainsaw, yes, that same tool Dr. Aitken invented centuries ago, and braced it against the billiard table. He had rigged an electric timer to start the motor. David had then lain down on the floor and positioned his neck directly against the teeth of the saw. When the timer hit 0, the saw roared to life. The police didn't find David File. They found a gruesome, bloody protest. His severed head was on the floor, and the saw was still buzzing, its teeth spinning through the air, coated in red. David wanted the world to see what Atlantic Housing had done to him. He wanted his death to be a permanent stain on their project. He wanted to be the one thing they couldn't just board up and forget. And for a while, it worked. The story was everywhere. People were horrified. There were debates about housing rights and mental health. But you want to know the saddest part? The part that makes the whole thing feel like a cosmic joke? A few weeks later, the bulldozers arrived. They tore down the complex. They leveled David's apartment. They hauled away the blood-stained billiard table. Today, there's no trace of David File. Just a new building and people living their lives, completely unaware of the man who gave his head to the floorboards they're walking on. So, those are my stories for tonight. It's funny, isn't it? How a tool meant to bring life into the world becomes a symbol of death. How a warning in a dream can't stop a tragedy, only delay it. How a man's last stand can be erased by a bulldozer in an afternoon. The world is a dark place, guys, and sometimes the things we think are protecting us are just waiting for the timer to go off. I'm Violet. Thanks for sitting with me in the dark. Don't forget to check under the bed before you go to sleep. And if you hear a mechanical whirring in the middle of the night, well, you know what it is. See you next time. Stay safe, if you can.